Hi, welcome to another week of Beyond Education Early Childhood Weekly Bites. Following last week's discussion on strengths, this week I'm going to speak on the fears. Fears that actually prevents you from reaching your full potential in terms of your self-awareness. So, very broadly, I like to define what fear is. Fear, to me, I really like this definition. It's false evidence appearing real. So that's kind of like the acronym: false evidence appearing real, and that's fear. Because fear could actually be could come about through your past experience, which is absolutely understandable, because we all have our own past experiences that might have been good, and in this case would have been bad, that actually has controlled these feelings of fears. And there is also the fears for the general unknown as a human being, and that's very, very natural. So I like to think about fears that we generally face as human beings, that's coming from two angles itself. One, from your past experience that is probably unpleasant, and the other one, it's your fears of the unknown, which is going into the future. So why is it important to identify fears? It is important to identify fears because fear can be crippling. So let me give you an example. So maybe someone that has had a bad experience growing up, maybe being locked up in a accidentally locked away in a cupboard or a room, or being even trapped in a lift. I've heard that like countless time, growing up in the city. Actually creates the fear of, for example, claustrophobic fear of being in a small tight space, or just being quite uncomfortable when the space becomes quite unfamiliar and unknown. And what fear does is that it actually prevents you from actually reaching your potential when you talk about self-awareness, and being able to go into your next step of a decision, maybe in your work, and also into areas that actually would help you to grow as a person. Maybe it's that relationship with somebody else. Maybe it's stepping into a new area of your work that you have always wanted to. And you will be thinking, and really just, if you have been crippled by fear, you would constantly be really frustrated about maybe a recurring thing, could be your action or inaction, in fact, and that maybe it's brewing in you, and you have felt that going on for years and years of your life, but you are not able to really put your finger on certain things, or being able to articulate that. So I'll give you an example. So for myself, growing up in a family, I've lost my mom when I was really young, and when I was 12. I've grew up learning how to really be within the community. I have recognized that families, friends, your network are your people that are just really going to be there to support you. And maybe that is that inherent fear of if I do run into conflict, and if I actually speak something up and that is conflicting to or with another person, that I'm going to lose this support, love, acceptance from somebody else. And I've grown up being really conflict avoiding in many ways, just would absolutely please people around me to make sure that things are getting on the right way, so that I don't need to deal with the heartache of broken relationships, or that the fear of that losing that support. So I think that has actually really come on and has been part of my life as I grew up, until even like I was in an adult situation. And I think that in many ways has actually caused me to walk away from certain decisions, or ways of dealing with conflict that I would have loved to but I do not know how to. So this fear of conflict has actually held me back from really reaching, for example, the full potential of where I felt like, for instance, in leadership, where I want things or how I want things to be resolved. I would often hold back my tongue on, just in fear of, offending the person that I really love, or that just being unable to speak my mind. And for years and years, I've actually gone and just sat in that space, and I just constantly hit the same wall, feeling frustrated and not knowing why, that I couldn't actually get past certain things. And in some of those cases, I would have just left the situation as it is. It isn't bad, but it's most of the time unresolved for me. So it's actually not affecting the other person as much as it is affecting me. And I've realized that, and fast forward to just a couple of years back, that's when I decided to go on that journey of being emotionally healthy, to understand that being able to work through and walk through conflict with others is really beneficial, so that we can all create a new pathway of being, and that our new that we can actually come together and forge new ways of thinking and doing things together that is going to be helpful for all parties. So I hope that little example for you is helpful, because in this case you can see that fear of confronting conflict has actually held me back for years. And I really hope that if you're going to hear this and you're really earlier on in your career, your life, that's going to save you a lot of time in just not going about roundabout ways, but being able to deal with this in a respectful and in a very open manner for yourself, so that you can actually reach the goals that you have in your life in a more a shorter path than myself, I hope. And so I hope that if you do struggle with fear in your life, that today you would just really open your heart and ask yourself, maybe even journal down, like write down what are the things that you feel like you've been fearful in the last couple of the last week. Even start starting small, let's write down what you feel fearful about, or what are the constant walls that you have been hitting. And that could actually give you a little bit of insight into maybe the things that you have been really struggling with internally or just under the surface, so that you can actually spend a bit of time digging and understanding it yourself. So I'm going to leave you with that thought today. I hope you'll be able to spend some time this week just to uncover if there's any inherent fear in your life that's preventing you from reaching your full potential. See you next week. Bye.